there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the Beauty and the Beast book tag. So Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite fairy tales of all time. I absolutely love it. I love the movie adaptations. I've even read the original fairy tale and had my 6th graders read it in the past when I taught 6th grade. So I just absolutely love that story and I thought it'd be fun to do this tag. I originally saw this tag done on Trisha's channel at Tell Her a Story several months ago. I'm not sure who the original creator is, but if I find it, I will link that down below. So this tag has 9 questions and it is related to the live adaptation, which I think was done in 2016 with Emma Watson. So let's just get on into the tag. Question 1. Oh, what a Guy Gaston, a villain that you can't help but love. For this prompt, I'm going to go with Victor from Vicious by V.E. Schwab. So Victor is a man who has superhuman powers. I believe he can cause pain to others. And he spent 10 years in prison because he was accused of murdering a girl. So Victor is definitely a morally gray character. He isn't afraid to use his powers and hurt people who deserve it. But at the same time, there are scenes in this book where he does show compassion to others. So of the 2 main characters in this book, Eli and Victor, Victor is definitely the more complex character and the villain that I really enjoy reading about. Question 2. Here's where she meets Prince Charming. Who is your OTP or one true pairing? For this prompt, I'm going to choose Locke and Jean from the Lies of Locke Lamora, or the Gentleman Bastards as a whole. So Locke and Jean are best friends and their relationship is just... it warms my heart. I absolutely love reading about it. They truly love one another. They would do anything for one another. They would give up their lives and well-being for one another. And I don't think that I could read a book in which Locke and Jean were not together. So definitely my OTP. Question 3. I want much more than this provincial life. A character that is destined for greater things. For this prompt, I'm going to go with Kip from the Black Prism or the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. So in the first book, we're introduced to Kip, and he is the son of a drug addict and a very negligent mother, and he's incredibly insecure. He describes himself as being very big and overweight, and people are always making fun of him for it. But over the course of the books, I just finished the 3rd book, his character arc is just so awesome. Not only does he gain confidence, but he learns that he is a minor spoiler here, full spectrum polychrome, and he learns that he is the bastard son of the Prism, and he just gets involved with the Blackguard, and he develops these close friendships with people in this crew, and they begin to look up to him, and he begins to feel better about himself. And I absolutely love Kip's development as a character in the first 3 books that I've read so far, and I cannot wait to see where Brent Weeks takes his story in the future. Question 4, Be Our Guest, a book that made you hungry. For this, I'm going to go with Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, but it follows the Queen of Hearts and her story of how she became the Queen of Hearts. In this story, Catherine loves to bake. Her one dream is to own a bakery with, I think, her maidservant, who's also her best friend. She just wants to own this bakery and cook for the kingdom, but her parents have these other ambitions for her, and she's always describing what she wants to make and what she's cooking and the things that she's made for the king, and it's definitely a book that revolves around baking, and I absolutely loved it. This is one of my favorite fairy tale retellings that I have ever read. But there were definitely scenes that made me a little hungry. Question 5 is Beauty and the Beast, a book where opposites attract. I'm going to go with Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kemmerer. I think that Juliet and Declan, our 2 protagonists, are definitely opposites. Declan is like the typical brooding teenager. He's really into car mechanics and he's kind of dark and emo, while Juliet is kind of the complete opposite. And she really holds a lot of prejudice towards him and believes the stereotypes about the type of guy that he is, when in fact he has so much more depth than that and is such a more complex character. And I absolutely love this book. I loved how Declan and Juliet's relationship developed, and I definitely think it's a good case of where opposites attract. Question 6, but there's something in him that I simply didn't see. A character who is more than they appear. I'm going to go with Isabel from An Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors by Kurtik I always forget his name, Curtis Craddock. Isabella is our main character, and she is born into a world where the nobles have sorceress abilities, and she comes from this really, really noble family, very powerful family, but she does not have any magic, and she was also born with a hand that was not correctly formed. But Isabel is incredibly intelligent. She is so clever. She is a scientist, a mathematician, and she is not going to let anyone tell her that she cannot do what she wants to do. She is not going to let her lack of magical ability get in the way. She's not going to let her deformity get in the way. And as this book progresses, it's actually Isabella's intelligence and her cleverness that get her out of certain predicaments and get her to where she needs to be at the end. Great book. Highly recommend this one too. Question 7. I was innocent and certain, but now I'm wiser and unsure. A book that changed you in some way. I'm going to go with The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. The reason I chose this is because this series is the one that got me into high fantasy, more adult fantasy when I was a teenager. It kind of bridged the gap between middle grade books and more adult fantasy books, and it helped me realize that I don't need to be afraid of these bricks of books. So I definitely credit this series as one of my earliest ventures into fantasy. And to be honest, I haven't even finished this series yet, but this book specifically I remember reading when I was really young and loving it and just wanting to pick up more and more adult fantasy, and it helped to inspire me as a writer in addition to a reader. Question 8, Kill the Beast, a book that you picked up because of the hype. I'm going to go with The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah, and this is an adult historical fiction, and I actually haven't even read it yet, and I picked this up a while ago. I got a really good deal on a used copy. I know that it follows two sisters during World War II during Nazi-occupied France, but that's all I know about it, and I've heard that it is just very heart-wrenching and gripping and emotional, and because of that, it's kind of intimidated me, and I haven't wanted to delve into a world that's going to emotionally shred me, so I've been hesitant to pick it up, but I do want to read it in the future, so definitely a hype book that I picked up. And lastly, question 9, I'll Never Shake Away the Pain, a book that made you cry. For this, I'm going to go with The Outsiders. I don't usually cry when I read books, but The Outsiders definitely got to me. It was towards the end when Ponyboy is writing his essay for his English class, and he's just going through how he transformed and how he lost that childhood innocence and stepped more into adulthood based on what happened to him and his friends and his brothers, and it struck a chord with me, and I actually did tear up while reading this, and I absolutely love this book. It's one of my favorites, and I also try and read it with my middle schoolers every year because it really resonates with a lot of that age group. Alright guys, that is my Beauty and the Beast book tag. I am going to be doing a Beauty and the Beast retelling a books rec video sometime next week, so be on the lookout for that. And I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!